Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot duplicate screens, so I'll do more like this so I can actually see it. Cool. But yeah, let's. So I mean, uh, I'm Albert from Moonbeam. I do developer relations. This is my third talk during Paris Dot. But we actually upgraded Moonriver to OpenGov a while ago, and it was a pain in the butt, to be honest. It's really hard. It's really complicated, not from an end user perspective, but also from like a developer perspective. And we had a lot of issues with it. Like we had a Mangata proposal that failed 3 times due to different things. And for us, it was really hard to actually simulate OpenGov proposals on Moonriver to ensure that they were going to be successful before the process starts, right? Because if you don't know, the process takes around 14 days. So you said, 14 days, the first proposal failed. Let's try again. Another 14 days, it failed again. Let's try again. Another 14 days, it failed again. And so it became clear that we were not doing things right, and there's not a lot of like OpenGov tooling out there, right? And so Alan from our team developed an OpenGov tool that works with Chopsticks to emulate proposals. And I wanted to show it here because I think as teams start implementing OpenGov, they can learn from like the mistakes or the errors that we did, and it's just like it's a great tool, to be honest, that we use constantly now. So first, let's do a little bit of OpenGov summary. So OpenGov, things you need to know about OpenGov so that when we're talking about the demo, it makes sense. And so the first thing is that you have tracks. For a person that is not technical, the way that I like to see tracks is like authority levels or like clearance levels. If you've seen movies like FBI, CIA movies, that you have clearance levels in the sense that if you have the top clearance level, you can do whatever you want around a building. If you have a very low clearance level, you can all do little things or minimal things, right? So in OpenGov, these things are called tracks, meaning that there's a track that has the highly restrictive values for a referenda to go through, but because it's highly restrictive, it can do a lot of things, a lot of damage in the network. So it can do whatever it wants. It could even say, hey, Limo, you know what? We're going to grab 100 tokens in your wallet and transfer it to Alberto because it's the root track. It's a track that can do everything. Then you have other tracks that have, for example, mid-authority, in which the values for a referenda to go through are somewhat restrictive, but it doesn't have the same power, right? So you try to do that in that track, it'll fail and it'd say, hey, buddy, you don't have the power to do that. And then you have less restrictive tracks, which, a vote can go through with very minimal restrictions, but it can do very little things, right? And a lot of like treasury things are done through there and so on. The other thing about OpenGov that you need to know, it's the proven and support, right? So for a referendum, there are a lot of things, a lot of configuration parameters, but there are 2 things that a lot of people get confused. One of them is the approval, which is basically yes votes times the conviction. So when you vote, you can say, I am voting with 1 token and I want to lock it for 200 days. And so you get like a multiplier of your power of voting. That's called conviction. And so approval is basically the yes votes times the conviction versus the no votes times the conviction, okay? And then the support is basically the yes votes, the I votes without conviction compared to the total supply of tokens that are ready to be used in democracy, okay? And why these 2 things are important, because when we talk about the configuration of a track, so remember the little train tracks that you saw there, you'll see some like phases 1 where like the proposals are going through some like pre-configuration stages. And then when the vote starts, which is phase 2, a certain referendum, depending on the authority level that I was saying before, it will have certain sort of approval percentage rates. So for example, a proposal can go through in an hour if it has 100% approval and then it has like 100% support, meaning that everyone in the world, every single dot that was out there was used in the voting yes, which is highly unlikely. But you can probably set it to 10%, and if it's an urgent thing, you can get it approved fast. And so basically, I like to say that proposals are divided into like phases. The first phase is like a preparation phase that could be 2 days, 3 days. You can actually configure that. Then you can configure also like kind of curve for a proposal to go through, depending on how many blocks you want this proposal to be approved. And then the first phase 3, which is like the enactment phase. And so think about, what happened on Moonriver. We had to wait the 3 phases in order to be able to resubmit the proposal, and then it failed. go again, it failed, and go again. And so what you have to remember about this is that tracks can be configured very differently for approval and supports. They have very different authority levels. And so, I mean, you should be able to emulate what happens if I want to do something in the top of the funnel, like the highest authority level track and things like that. Cool. So the problem, right? The problem is that basically in governance v1, testing was kind of straightforward. It's like, I don't think any team sort of complained about, yeah, no, we cannot test Gov v1 or legacy democracy or whatever proposals. Using Chopsticks, it was fairly easy. If you had pseudo palette, which a lot of teams still do, some of them put it to the treasury, so they're like disabling pseudo, but they still have the palette. In Chopsticks, you can actually, I think this is like Astar's configuration, that they still have pseudo. And so you could say, instead of pseudo being a multisig, I can say Alberto is pseudo. And so now Alberto has like a control over this fork of the network. It's not the real thing, so don't get scared. So Alberto has control of this like clone of A star. And so I can do whatever I want in A star. So I can just say, hey, I want to execute this governance proposal really quickly, and it works. The other possibility basically is that if for example, Moonbeam doesn't have pseudo, but we have Gov v1 with a technical committee and the council, that could also work like pseudo, because you can do, hey, I want to do this governance v1 proposal that it's basically the voting period, it's like 5 blocks. It gets executed automatically, and then the council and tech committee will push that. I can vote, and that's it. So it was kind of simple to emulate governance proposals. And the other thing is basically that in governance proposals in Gov v1, every single governance proposal had the same authority level. You didn't have different authority levels like you do on OpenGov, right? So like doing it through governance v1 and doing it through pseudo had the same sort of like authority. So it's like the same. And so doing it with pseudo was good enough, because if it worked with pseudo, it was going to work when the actual proposal was like actually done. So with Chopstick, it was fairly straightforward. I never like practiced this presentation, so I forgot it was like the next slide. So yeah, OpenGov testing. So there are kind of so-so ways to test OpenGov, which they all suck. They're not great. So one of the ways you can do it, which is like what actually I tried, is that you can create a clone of Moonbeam that has very fast like setups for OpenGov. So root track will be like voting, it's 1 minute. And then the enactment period, the phase 3, it's like 5 blocks. And so that is possible. But every time you have a new runtime, you have to then compile it again. I do work in a very crappy VM, so it takes like an hour and a half to compile it. It is not easy. It's annoying, right? And so I don't know. It was sort of like really annoying to do this every time you wanted to do an OpenGov simulation. The other possibility is that you could actually do it through like a whitelist track. A whitelist track is a specific train track that I was showing before, that it's normally very quick, very fast. But the problem is that the whitelist track, you might not have the same authority level as the one that you want to emulate. If you want to, for example, emulate a very low level authority track, and you do it through the whitelist track, you're not doing a one-to-one emulation. It's not really, it doesn't really work, okay? And then last, you can use good old governance v1, right? We did that for Wind River. It's like, okay, we have this general admin OpenGov proposal, which is like mid-authority level, more or less. But we'll test it out with OpenGov, with governance v1, which is like, has the highest authority level. Oh wait, it worked in governance v1. Go for it. And then it failed in OpenGov. Why? Because once again, the authority levels are different, so the origins are different, and you're not testing one-to-one, which is the whole point of emulating things. And so now this is basically the main topic of the presentation. Now we created a tool that you can use Chopsticks with, that we call the Fast Execute tool. It's not a marketing name. It's not supposed to be a marketing tool. And so basically what Chopsticks allows you to do is to create a fork of the network. I should have actually started the talk with that, because Chopsticks allows you to create a fork, a clone of Moonbeam, of A-Star, or Polkadot, Kusama, with the latest state. So for example, in the demo that I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the latest Polkadot state, And we're gonna fast track a proposal so you guys can see how easy the tool works. It's like magic, okay? So Chopsticks allows you to create a fork of the network with a very simple command. It's really, really straightforward. And then the fast execute tool, how does it work? So Chopsticks has this functionality where you can actually set storage. You can modify the storage of the clone of the network with a very simple command that is just one click, that's it. And so what the tool actually does is basically say, okay, we're gonna modify the proposal. We're gonna completely modify the storage saying that the proposal has this many votes for I, and it's gonna override sort of like the windows and everything so that everything happens in 1 or 2 blocks. So instead of having to wait 14 days, we're gonna modify the storage of the network so that it happens in 2 blocks. I can't remember the actual parameters, but you're gonna see that it's basically instantaneous, okay? That won't happen on Moonbeam in reality, but it's happening in this fork that we can do whatever we want with it. So it's really, really helpful. And the other thing that I'm not sure if it's actually in number 3. Yeah, okay. And then we do fast forward scheduler. Fast forward scheduler means that there's also some scheduling that happens on when you're voting through OpenGov. And so instead of like saying, okay, we're just gonna schedule this to happen in like, I don't know, 7,000 blocks, you're gonna schedule it to happen in the next block. And so you will see that this tool allows you to just fast execute a OpenGov proposal. And that's why the name is like that. And so for the demo, I think it's demo time if I remember correct. Oh, by the way, and down here, I know that this is really small, but at the end, you'll see a QR code to the slides, and then you can check actually the URL out. This is basically the fast execute chopstick proposal. So we were talking with Brian from Akala that we feel that he should include this tool in Chopstick as a sort of like embedded in it because it's super, super helpful. And I think now it's demo time. Cool. So let me see. Okay, for the demo, basically it's super, super easy to do. It's so easy that it's like teams should use it because it's that easy, right? So first you have to install Chopsticks, okay? So you basically do npm install yarn, whatever you prefer, and then install the latest version of Chopsticks. And then to create your own little fork of the network, you just use npx chopstick blah blah blah, and then -c, and then you have some networks pre-configured. You have Polkadot, Moonbeam, Kusama, Moonriver. There's a lot actually. This is not only 4. But you can do Astar, Akala, I think, Psychize, I don't know, a bunch of them. I think they're pre-configured. And this will create a fork of the network in the latest possible state in localhost. I think the default port is like 8,000. And then the third step is basically just run the tool using TS node, blah, blah, blah. And all you have to do is pass in the URL of the node, the Chopsticks node, and the proposal index. And it is that simple. It's absurdly simple, to be honest. And so in order to do this, like I said before, fast execute tool is going to set the storage. I think I even forgot to delete these 2 last parts. They're a copy from the last slide. So, all right. So just to show you how easy this is going to be really challenging because I need to, okay. So basically you can see that I have Visual Studio Code here. I have some, text things at the top so I can just copy and paste. But this is like my setup for Chopsticks. I have a bunch of them. If I want to emulate Kusama, I want to emulate Polkadot, I want to emulate Moonriver. You can actually do also XCM testing. We actually use this a lot to do XCM testing between parachains and proposals and things. But what I'm going to do right now first is that I'm going to go to, let's do Polkadot directly. So I'm going to copy this, put it down here. And I'm creating my little copy of Polkadot locally on my machine that it's going to be on port 8,000. So it's already running on port 8,000, super, super quick. And now what I have to do is load it up here. Wait, should I? Come on. All right, wait 1 second. There we go. All right, so I have my Polkadot here. Let me reload it because I was running Moonbase Alpha before. I was doing a test. So you can see that. You can see here, hopefully you see it. Let me zoom in. All right. So you can see here that I have Polkadot. It's not showing the little nice magenta color because this is like Polkadot.js is not recognizing this Polkadot. But you can see that I can go here, referenda. I'm going to actually open Polkadot here so we can compare it. And you can see that there is in the root track, so the root track is the one with the highest authority ever. You can see there are two proposals, treasury spend, treasury spend. I know the treasury spends are kind of like a sensitive topic here, but I'm going to show you that like this is a copycat of what we see here, okay? And so you have 66, 65, two treasury spends of this much, and then you have 66, 65 treasury spends of this much. So for whatever reason, I'm going to pick 65, okay? And I'm going to fast track this 65. So instead of having to wait X amount of days to see if it worked, I'm just going to like use a tool here. So I go back. I'm going to go to a different tab because I have Moonbeam tools there. I'm going to clear it up so you don't see I was testing it like 5 minutes ago, well, 10 minutes ago. So you can see that I have, the TS node, source, blah, 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 fast execution tool, URL, port 8000, and then index 65. So I'm emulating OpenGov proposal 65. And then the tool is going to do its magic. It's going to modify the storage. It's going to fast track the scheduler. It's going to do all of the crazy things. And, hopefully in like 10 seconds, we should see the result. This is like okay. So you can see it's telling you some stuff. Referendum 65, set storage fast proposal 65, blah, 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 some dev stuff if you're interested. And then rescheduling, nudging referendum, agending the referendum, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, that's it. We emulated the OpenGov proposal. You don't have to wait 14 days to see if it's going to work or not. And so now I need to go to here. And you can see that 65 is no longer listed in the OpenGov page. And if I go up and I go to the network, here, you're going to see treasury spent approved, this amount for this person to this account, so congrats. And you can see here that the referendum was confirmed, referendum 65. And then we are now sure that this referendum is going to execute correctly, okay? This is not how you're supposed to use it. You're supposed to create your own referendum and test it out. I mean, this was just a demo. So for the purpose of that, I think I still have time. We are going to do one in Moonriver. So I'm going to go ahead and then copy this and then put him here. Oh, sorry, it's not here. Actually, I could not prepare for this that much, but I wanted to sort of like, we are working, for example, with Subsocial to open the HRMP channel, the XCM channel. And so I wanted to actually live demo that proposal because they already provided the encoded call data and I wanted to test it out, but I could not prepare that. So sorry ahead of time. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to go ahead and reload this because this is now Moonriver, it's not Polkadot. All right. And so I'm going to take the mic down, but what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to add a pre-image. I'm going to put like a system remark that is super easy. And I'm going to put a proposal in general admin, okay? And we're going to see what happens. Actually, I'm going to do something a little bit different so that actually, hopefully it fails. So I'm going to create a pre-image and I'm going to submit the proposal, all right? I'm going to put the mic down so I can work. So, I'll be beautiful, man. All right. So now I'm going to add the pre-image. I'm going to do something that I think it's going to fail if I execute it through that. So I'm going to do a batch all, system remark, test. And then I'm going to add another system remark, test 2. All right? So I can, Chopsticks actually gives you some pre-fund accounts. So I can just add Alith. Alith has, she's a whale in Moonriver in testing. So I'm going to submit this pre-image. I should have probably copied the pre-image hash. There you go. I'm going to submit this pre-image. And then Chopsticks is going to, produce a block, so on. We're going to see it here really quickly that the pre-image was noted. This is the hash of the pre-image. And now I can go to referenda and submit the OpenGov proposal, right? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say, I'm going to do it in general admin. And then the origin. So this is the track, the train track that I was showing you. And this is the authority level that general admin can have, which is general admin, okay? So now I'm going to put the pre-image hash. And I'm going to submit the proposal. All right? So now let's wait. Okay, so you can see now that there's an OpenGov proposal for general admin. I can take it, man. Thanks. Now there's an OpenGov proposal in general admin. It's proposal index 23. And now I'm going to emulate this proposal with the tool. I mean, this is not really great because this is such a remark, but imagine, like I was saying, like we're working with some social site guys, whatever, and then they want to do a proposal to accept the HRMP channel. Hey, buddy, let me test it before we actually run it through so you don't have to waste 14 days of your life or our lives doing it, okay? So I'm going to go to the tool now. Where is it? It's here. And I'm going to run this again. And I think it was 23, right? Hopefully it's 23. So now I'm just going to go ahead to Polkadot.js apps, and you can see that this proposal will be magically disappear. So I don't have to wait 1 hour for the waiting time. I think there's like the preparation period is 1 hour, and then 14 days, blah, blah, blah. So you can see that it already disappeared because it was already fast executed or like, emulated. And then if you go here, you're going to see that the referendum submitted, a scheduler dispatched, and then the result was okay. So yeah, it didn't fail. I thought it was going to, oh, there you go, bad origin. So I mean, because you cannot actually do, that's something that we learned that way, you cannot actually do batch all if you're not root, okay? And this is not the highest authority level. This is a lower authority level, right? So this is one of the reasons why one of the Mangata referendums failed, and we learned it the hard way. So I think that's all I had. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully teams that are starting to use OpenGov, they feel a little bit more confident on using it because this tool will allow you guys to emulate OpenGov proposals, it was not easy to do. And yeah, we're actually using this for every single proposal that is going now through Moonriver, and OpenGov will launch a Moonbeam, I think, today or tomorrow. So it's going to be really cool because we feel more confident now that we can just test every single proposal before people even submit it. If they provide the encoded code data, you can just create the preimage, test the preimage out, and then making sure that it works. So yeah, that's all I had. Thanks a lot. I don't know if we have time for questions.
I tell you what, because we have a big crowd and that was a great demo. One question, time for one question, if anyone wants to ask before our final talk.
All right, so no worries. If you want our intro, you took it out already, but if you want to learn more, you can hit me out in Telegram, AlbertoV19, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you're a parachain team who wants to use this tool. So yeah, thank you.
Cool. Let's give him a round of applause. That was his 5th talk of the week, man. What a G. What a G. Good job, bro. Good job, Alberto.